Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Meet the Candidates Forum, brought to you by the Nantucket Civic League in conjunction with NCTV. My name is Scott Wilson. I'm the co-president of the Civic League, and I also serve as the chair of the Naushop Owners Association, which is one of the Civic League's many local neighborhood associations. It's been a very busy and emotional time on Nantucket, coming off a long and emotional annual town meeting that ended on Tuesday night, and with the elections and ballot initiatives driving to the fore. Today's Meet the Candidates Forum is one of our traditional annual events. It furthers the Civic League's core mission of encouraging participation in town government. Our aim today is twofold: to give the candidates direct access to you, the voters, to make their cases, and to help you, the voters, make informed choices when you go to the polls on May 19th. And we strongly encourage all voters to go to the polls and vote on Election Day. As Thomas Jefferson said, we do not have government by majority. We have government by the majority who participate, and we should all strive to participate. Today's program is being broadcast live on Zoom and is also being carried live on NCTV 8. A recording of this forum will be available as an on-demand YouTube video immediately following the conclusion of this broadcast. The Nantucket League is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation and is nonpartisan. We sponsor this event without favor or prejudice toward any candidate. We invited all the candidates who were involved in contested elections, as well as another who was an announced candidate for election to the select board via write-in at the polls. We have 6 panels today in the following order: the select board, the planning board, the school committee, the water commission, the land bank, and the harbor and shellfish advisory committee. Of those we invited, select board candidate Bob Costa declined, as did water commission candidates Nelson Eldridge and James Egan. We did invite 4 uncontested candidates in the event they wanted to make statements to inform the voters of their position, but they all declined. Among those was Sarah Alger, who is running unopposed for another term as moderator. It is not surprising that she is running unopposed, given her lengthy status as moderator at our town meetings for the past 30 years. Ms. Alger's anniversary was cause for recognition at the end of town meeting last Tuesday, but please be reminded that the ceremony was a celebration of an anniversary, not a retirement. Ms. Alger plans to continue in that role for as long as the voters will allow. And we thank her for her continued service and diligence as her legend grows. We are also joined today by Dean Geddes, the senior reporter and news editor of the Inky Mirror, and Jason Graziadei, the editor-in-chief of the Nantucket Current, who will put the first few rounds of questions to the candidates. Each of our 6 sessions will be held separately. For each session, I will first introduce the candidates and allow each to provide a 2-minute opening statement about their qualifications and positions on issues of their interest. After that, we'll turn to questions from our media panel, and after that, we will turn to our live audience Zoom questions. At the end of the question portion of each session, the candidates will have an opportunity to make a final closing statement. We have allocated 25 minutes to the select board and planning board and 20 minutes to the remaining 4 sessions. To our viewing audience, we want your questions. To submit a question, simply click on the chat button at the bottom of your Zoom screen and type your question. It can be directed to one specific candidate, or it can be directed to all the candidates on a specific panel. Please try to submit your questions as we begin each portion of our program, and I will try to remember to remind you as we start each new portion to send in your questions. We'll try to get to as many questions as we can. One final word. The Civic League is about issues, and we will not allow the candidates to level accusations or personal criticisms at the other candidates or anyone else. I will interrupt any such statements. Please stay focused on the issues. We also ask that the audience questions be focused on issues. Neither ad hominem remarks or rants we receive on the Zoom chat will be read. We thank you all for your cooperation in this regard. Okay, we've got a lot to do, so let's get started with the select board. We'll hear from 2 of the 3 candidates for the 2 open seats, and they are now invited to give their opening statement. We'll start with Clifford Williams, followed by Jill Veith. So, Mr. Williams, over to you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Scott, and the Civic League for putting this on again. I've lost track of how many times I've run, but I always say the same problems are still around, so we haven't missed anything. Basically, I was born and raised on Nantucket. I've been back here for 25 years with the FAA. I'm still currently employed by the FAA, so I was part of quite a few boards. I was on the finance committee for 9 years, so I just continue to run and participate, and hopefully, it can make a difference.
Thank you. The other member of this panel is Jill Veith. Jill's been a community membership for 23 years and a year-round resident for the past 12 years. She is the owner-operator and inspiration behind her company, White Hart Design. She is the current chair of the Nantucket Finance Committee and the Capital Program Committee. And before that, she served 5 years on the board of the Artists Association of Nantucket. Jill, over to you.
You could keep going, Scott. I kind of liked how you were describing me. It sounded a little better. I'm afraid I'm going to have to repeat some of those things now, but
Right.
and I do have 2 minutes, right? I just
Yeah, you do. Yep.
Yeah. By the way, Sarah Alger for 30 more years. That would be
That would
be the best outcome of all. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here, and thank you for having me, Scott. For those I haven't met, I'm Jill Veith. My husband, Tim, and I have been part of the Nantucket community for more than 20 years and year-round residents for the last 12. We raised our 2 daughters here, and we built our design build business here from the ground up. I'm running for select board because I love it here. And I must love it here, or I wouldn't have been on the finance committee the last 7 years and devoted so much of my time to that. But I serve now as chair of both the finance committee and the capital program committee, where for these last 7 years, I've worked through the town's operating budgets, capital requests, infrastructure issues, and long-term financial planning. I invested those years learning the mechanics of town government because I believe experience and preparation matter. In that time, I think I reviewed, deliberated, debated, and made motions on over 800 warrant articles. But my connection to Nantucket goes beyond budgets and spreadsheets. I'm active in recreation through the NRSA, and I spend a lot of time walking conservation land with my 2 Norwich Terriers, Ollie and Louie. I'm always hoping to spot a white hare, a bald eagle, or maybe finally an indigo bunting. But I still haven't seen an indigo bunting, so if any of you have, if you could call me and let me know where to see one, I really want to. But to me, this election comes down to 3 priorities: fiscal responsibility, strengthening recreation, and community connection, protecting Nantucket as a place where year-round families and our workforce community can continue to live, raise their children, support our seniors, retire here, build meaningful lives, and do life together. We face real challenges ahead. Affordable and attainable housing continue to be a pressing issue, especially for teachers, firefighters, police officers, and working residents. We have environmental issues like erosion, heavy nitrogen use, and protecting our water quality, and making smart infrastructure decisions that prepare Nantucket for the future. We also need our boards and commissions working collaboratively and communicating clearly with the public. I've spent years understanding our town meeting form of government and helping residents better understand it too, because our best ideas come from the people who live here. We need an informed and engaged public so we can produce the best decisions through a decision-making process with integrity. And finally, I'd like to see more family-friendly opportunities and a more pedestrian-friendly downtown during special events such as Stroll. More spaces and experiences that bring everyone together. I believe Nantucket works best when people feel connected, heard, and invested in one another. I am fully invested in this community, and I'd be honored to earn your vote and your support for Select Board on May 19th. Thank you.
Thank you. The first question will be posed by Dean Geddes from the Yankee.
Hi, good afternoon, candidates. Thank you for having me. My first question is about town meeting. As we all know, a lot got approved at town meeting, over 200 million in major projects. And I'm wondering, assuming that those pass at the ballot, how should the select board balance those commitments with concerns about taxes, operating costs, and other capital needs?
Am I going first?
Yeah, please go first.
Okay. I don't want to get rid of town meeting. To make that straightforward, but unfortunately, as you can see at town meeting, we start out with 1,200 people. And then by the last day, last night, there's 400 people. So it's unfortunate that people get through their articles and then leave. Um, that being said, though, I think we could also improve, let's talk about town meeting for a little bit. I think we could improve the relationship with the Board of Selectmen and the citizen articles. I've had several citizen articles where I haven't heard from the Board of Selectmen since October. And then you're trying to participate, you're trying to do the right thing, and then I feel like you're ambushed, or I think I seem to be ambushed a lot. Try to do affordable housing, try to do incineration at the landfill, and there hasn't been much cooperation to try to work with me. So I can tell you firsthand that if we're going to have participation, the Board of Selectmen is going to have to do a better job with working with people to have their articles either worked on, modified, instead of just ambushed at town meeting. The town meeting's voted, and we're going to vote at the ballot. And when you say, what are you going to do about the money, or what are you going to do about prioritizing? If they vote for $250 million, then you're going to get taxed at $250 million. We're going to build an island home. We're going to do all these things. It's unfortunate, to get back to the affordable housing. I tried to do affordable housing for town employees with all the deed restrictions several times. They're using, instead of square footage, rooms. I provided about $200,000 per room, and we just voted in $750,000 per room. So I was on the finance committee when Tobias Glidden first brought this concept of affordable housing, and I tried to get him to take $5 million and create a philosophy and a business plan, which they didn't do. And then the Board of Selectmen endorsed $20 million without any plan at all. And then I think we just wasted the money. So I think I'd do a better job of spending the money. We're just out of control. We seem to do things backwards. And I think the town should just stick with the basics first. Government isn't the solution, it's usually the problem. And every time you see these affordable housing plans, or a lack of, they seem to go bad, which I can't understand, seeing we own the land most of the time. It should be really easy to do. So yeah, the people have spoken. It's town meeting, so I don't know if you're going to prioritize it. You're just going to do what the vote says, spend the money.
Thank you. Thank you, Cliff. Jill?
It's a 1-minute response, right, Scott? I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes, Monday and Tuesday, we spent a lot of money. But I think it's important to put all those things into perspective. I think last year, and Dean, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure the only debt exclusion that passed last year was for the Tom Nevers bike path. And that was for about $5 million. So this year was a big year. And we heard from the community that they had a lot of needs and wants. And sometimes these capital projects do butt up against each other. They kind of come at similar times. And so what I think we need to see going forward, and if I'm on the select board, this is the area I've spent most of my time on, is to prioritize what the capital projects are. We have $1 billion in capital projects projected for the next 10 years, and we have to prioritize them. And I think sometimes what happens at a select board level is they each have something that they would like to put forward, and then they don't say, well, maybe this one needs to wait next year. They kind of have the discussion, but and sometimes they're just things that happen, with the sewer, for example, they had an opportunity that if they put it on this year, then they could get a 0% loan and save $8 million. So I think that kind of brought that issue forward more quickly. But there is going to have to be what I say, a real green eye shades look, where we take a very sharp pencil and say, this is the priority, 1, 2, 3, 4. We can't just say, well, we like all these projects and we're just going to put some of them on each year. We have been put last year and this year, we put forward $260 million in capital projects. And like I said, last year, not many passed, but this year, a lot of them did. And that does affect our tax rate. It doesn't just affect your property taxes, it affects commercial rates as well. In fact, there are a lot of people here who don't even take advantage of the residential exemption. People who are year-round residents who also own maybe employee housing or have other properties, and they're not able to take advantage of that residential exemption. So these taxes kind of hurt across the board, but we did hear from people on Monday night that there was a real community need for a lot of things on the table. And, I have to respect that. But again, the select board really is going to have to buckle down, put on their green eye shades, and take a look and identify like what can we actually do, because we have a very serious debt payment that we're going to have to make now. And if all the projects we approved Monday get approved at the ballot, our debt payment is going to be upwards of $25 million a year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Next question will be from Jason from Nantucket Current.
Yeah, thanks, Scott, and hi to all the candidates. My question, I wanted to kind of jump off what Dean asked and what Jill mentioned. With that amount of spending approved at town meeting and assuming it moves forward on the ballot and all of the capital projects that are coming down the pipeline, should the select board consider raising the residential exemption to lessen the burden on year-round residents? And if so, by how much? We know they've held it steady the last couple of years. We know the Seasonal Communities Act allows it to go up to 50%. So would you support an increase in the residential exemption? And if not, why not?
We'll let Jill go first.
I'm already on. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, I do support raising it, especially in years where we have big projects like this. I mean, these projects are really for the ones we're talking about this year. They benefit everybody, but they particularly benefit the year-round community. And I do think we should raise the residential exemption, but I think there's probably a way to do it where maybe that exemption floats a little bit depending on the spending, depending on the debt exclusions. So maybe in a bigger year, we need to raise it some. Maybe if we don't have as many projects on the table, we could lower it a bit. So yes, I do absolutely think that that's 100% got to be on the table.
Mr. Williams.
Yeah, that gets back to the same mentality. So everybody wants to vote for this stuff, but nobody wants to pay for it. When I was on the FinCom, a lot of people would make that point that we keep voting in these projects and the majority of the taxes are paid by people who don't live here and who don't have a vote to say, I don't want to raise my taxes. So I guess I would consider it, but I really think if people are going to vote for these projects and they're going to vote for more spending, then maybe they should feel the sting of it. And maybe they would be more conservative when they make votes and spend that kind of money.
Thanks. Dean, do you have another question?
Yeah, sure. I'll go to a more general question. What would you do to make Nantucket town government more accountable to year-round residents who may feel priced out or ignored?
And we'll start with Cliff.
What would I do for people who feel more priced out? Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, that starts with our federal government where we printed too much money. So now inflation is just killing us. It's a lot of crazy things that go on here. When I was young, things weren't 3 times as much. And so, I mean, gas used to be the difference of maybe $1. Now it seems like it's $1.50. The home heating oil's through the roof. It's just become unsustainable, I think, because everybody's come in here to Nantucket and thinks because it's Nantucket, we can charge 3 times as much. So we have a lot of programs, fuel assistance, different things, like you said, the exemption on the taxes, but what can you do to help the people? It's unfortunate. It's inflation. I'm not sure what else we can do.
Thanks. Jill?
Yeah, that's a good question. Nantucket's a very expensive place to live. I think that's why we're talking about raising the residential exemption. People that come here in the summer, they have to afford the things here for 3 months a year. We have to afford them 12 months a year. So I do think that we should benefit from some greater residential exemption when we need it. But we also have seen that the housing it's just a massive problem. And it's not one that seems to be going away. For example, that's why we created the Affordable Housing Trust. They've invested $120 million. I think that they're probably going to consider investing more. You saw that the select board recently came together and said that municipal housing was a priority as well. And I think that we are trying to help people through that avenue. I mean, that's the first stop and the best stop.
Thanks. Jason, if you have another question.
Yeah,
can go
thank you,
ahead.
Scott. Yeah, and it's something you guys have touched on a little bit, but I was hoping the candidates could give us their evaluation of the select board's approach on affordable housing. You mentioned the Affordable Housing Trust. We've had the operating override to fund affordable housing projects. We've seen some projects like Wiggles Way with cost overruns. We're starting Tacoma Green. In your opinion, what's working? Have there been missteps? What could be improved or changed in the town's approach to affordable housing?
Jill goes first.
Oh boy, that's tough, Jason. Well, I think what they've done is the right thing. And also we have to remember it's not the select board who did it. The voters approved that money. And because people were desperate to find a solution. And I think the Affordable Housing Trust has done a pretty amazing job of trying to look for different opportunities. What I also would like to see them do, Tobias Glidden's original article did talk about buying properties. The town's done a little bit of that, buying existing properties. And I see a lot of retirements coming up in town government that I'm concerned about. And I would like to see us make sure that we can attract, the best people to work here, and the best department heads we can. So I would like to see, I've kind of recommended on the Capital Committee that we have some sort of fund so that we can maybe identify a property for more long-term housing for some of these roles. But it's also tricky and it's not easy to do that. There isn't a lot for sale. And it's not necessarily making it super affordable to live here on, just on a daily basis. But I think that I'm very impressed with the trust for $120 million. I think they've come up with something like 500 bedrooms and they did it pretty quickly. And I think that that is an exceptional board. I don't know that I always agree with everything they do, but on the whole, I mean, they're meeting the shy list and I'm really impressed. I think this next step is more, what can we do? What's going to come next? And I think we need to now see more heads in beds and kind of reevaluate where we are with that. And so that would be my only thing, that it just takes a long time to get these projects that you build online. And then the town needs to maintain some of them. I like that they're partnering with private entities for some of these projects. I think that's really important because I think it'll be hard for the town to maintain more buildings. But that'll be a long discussion going forward for sure.
Thanks, Jill. Clifford Williams.
Yeah, I believe when it comes to affordable housing, again, the government isn't the solution. The whole 40B thing is ridiculous. It was implemented to supposedly help with affordable housing, but if you asked anybody at the State House to explain it, they probably couldn't. When I was on the FinCom, I asked for those people to come down and explain 40Bs or any of the other things they're trying to do, and no one ever showed up. So it was ridiculous. I tried to several times, like I said, and Steve Murray also, to provide affordable housing for town employees, and it wasn't met with much support. I don't know why. Like I said, my price was about $200 a room for ownership of houses. They've gone out and spent a lot of money on land, millions of dollars more than what I even offered. So I can just give you that example. So I've built 52 houses. I've built a couple subdivisions. As a kid, I worked in construction here. I built all the catch basins along Old South Road back in the 80s when I was younger. I don't know. I hope I bring something to the table when it comes to construction. I just think we're not doing a good job. I'd create some sort of an entity where you use local contractors, and I think we could build these houses ourselves and get away from this crazy state-run, regulated method that costs so much money. And that when we do these things in order to protect the taxpayer, but in the end, it ends up costing us more money. That's why the island home's 120 million instead of 40. Thank you.
Thank you. Question from the chat from Angus McLeod. Feelings about historic preservation and what support can you provide to Plus and specifically to the HDC? And we'll start with Mr. Williams.
You repeat that again? Question?
Basically, you didn't mention historic preservation in your either of you in your opening comments, and just wondering what your position is on that, and if you think HDC needs more support.
Yeah, when they just gave the selectmen a raise to what, $14,000, I think we should start paying the HDC. Those people are brutalized. They spend probably more time than the selectmen do, in my opinion. It's a battle. We went from small cottages to these McMansions. People have private property rights where they can build certain things that they want to. So I think it's a never-ending battle with the poor HDC trying to keep things looking historical, considering like I said, these massive compounds that we've now created. So I back the HDC, and without it, would be in big trouble. So I think they need more support. I think they need more help. They probably need to be paid.
Thanks. Jill Veith.
Yeah, our historic character, I mean, that's really what is one of the main drivers of why people want to come here, but it's also why it's a great place to live here. I love to see these buildings protected when we can. And I do think the HDC needs to be supported. And I think you've seen the select board support them time and time again. I'm sorry, Angus, that I didn't mention that in the beginning, because it really is a core part of why I want to see the downtown become more pedestrian friendly. And I think that some of the festivals and things that we have gotten some people a little bit uneasy. I talk to residents who kind of don't even want to go to the festivals anymore, and that disappoints me. And I want a way to bring people together. So to me, that's making downtown better than ever. And that's protecting our past in order to keep it fully engaged. Thank you.
Thanks. Question from Charity Benz on the chat. Would you be willing to consider taxing properties that rent short-term for more than 2 weeks at the commercial rate to raise money to offset the expense of our island home and other projects that require overrides? We'll start with you, Jill.
I think I heard it. She wants to know if we can tax STRs at a commercial rate.
Yeah.
I'm not positive that we can, because we haven't changed the use of that property. So I'm just not sure that legally we can.
I think her question was, could we use the money to subsidize some of these other things like our island home where we need overrides?
Well, they already do pay a tax on top of STRs. That already does happen. And so that does broaden our tax base, which when I was on the finance committee is one of the reasons I wanted to make sure that the short-term rentals continued to be taxed, because that was going to be a huge loss of revenue. And again, our budget's $170 million. Next year, we're looking at a $25 million debt payment. And the last thing we needed was to lose some of that income for people who want to come and stay here and visit here. So, but in terms of taxing it at another rate, I'm not positive that we're able to do that. So I'd have to look into that a bit more, but I'd be happy to talk to her about it.
Thank you. Mr. Williams.
I remember when town meeting voted, I think 5 different years in a row against the short-term rental tax. For years, we voted against it. And I think the governor is the one who just implemented it and overrid everything, did an override on us. So I think that's, tax enough. Like I said, people have voted for these overrides. People have voted for higher taxes for all these things at town meetings. So we can only tax so much. And I don't think you'd have a fight if you try to change their property to commercial, or at least tax it at commercial. Thanks.
Thanks. One final question. In the context of coastal resiliency, we are being conditioned to accept the fact that there might be betterment charges imposed on people who benefit directly from a certain piece of coastal resiliency that gets built. This past town meeting, the Somerset Road Sewer Extension was approved, but carved out of the original warrant was the idea that the residents would pay 25% of the cost. It was reduced to zero. And I'm just wondering if you think that act at town meeting might have an effect on the ability to impose betterment charges on coastal resiliency projects that we see coming up in the future. Cliff.
Up until 2025, you basically didn't pay anything to hook up to the sewer except, probably a little hookup fee versus what we do now. As a result of some of the selectmen that are no longer here wanting to do the 1/3 formula for hooking up to the sewer. And then it's just morphed more and more. People asked why this was, why is it now? I mean, we just continue to go farther into it with these things cost more and more money. The huge projects, in my opinion, always should everybody benefits from sewer, and any other project like that. So maybe I missed the last part of the question. We should do that for coastal resiliency. Oh, the betterments. The whole coastal resiliency thing too. We just voted down the Sconset Bluff, and it came up that those people had armored part of Diona's Beach. So the whole coastal resiliency program kind of boggles me. I'm not sure how we can stop the water from coming up. I lived down in Louisiana for a little while, and I saw the dike, I guess, if that's what you're talking about, they want to construct through the harbor, but you'd have to entomb most of Diona's Beach because it's still going to come up around by Jetty's Beach. It's still going to come up through the ground. I think you're fighting a losing battle with the coastal resiliency.
Okay.
These people. Thank you.
Thanks. Jill?
Well, I think that it's definitely a discussion they need to keep having is on betterments. I do not think that should be taken off the table for every project. But for some of the coastal resiliency projects, they're not necessarily in neighborhoods. So I don't think some of them are, but some of them are not. So it isn't that easy to say, well, we're going to do it here and not do it there. We did not do betterments for the Shimo project. And I think that kind of really stood out to me based on its location, and then going over to Somerset and its location and then telling them, well, you're going to have to do a betterment. I think this just needs a lot more discussion. It should be on the table, but I think it needs to be a fair process and one that's been thoroughly vetted and understood.
Thank you. Jill, we'll keep it on you for your closing statement.
Oh, all right.
Sure.
Oh, I muted. Sorry. Right. Thanks again for hosting us today, Scott. I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me, and I appreciate anybody who's watching, who is willing to listen to me. As I said before, over the last 7 years, I've had the privilege of serving the island through the Finance Committee and the Capital Program Committee, a number of other boards and organizations in our community. As a small business owner, I've spent the last 16 years working intensely with the trades, building homes and working side by side with some of the best people I've ever met. In fact, one of the reasons I moved to Nantucket was because of the work ethic I saw here. Years ago, Chad Harnischfeger and Dave Dussault were working on some of my projects, and I remember getting emails from them at 4 a.m. It struck me how committed they were to their work and to their community, and I realized I wanted to build my life around people like that. I love this island, not just its history and sense of community, but also its incredible natural resources. Some of my favorite moments are just walking my dogs and appreciating how special it is. 7 years ago, I first ran for select board, actually. I wasn't involved in town government then. And I didn't know that many people. So I went around and I knocked on more than 1,000 doors because I wanted to hear directly from residents about their concerns, their priorities, and their hopes for Nantucket. 7 years later, I stand before you and I can honestly say that if elected to select board, I hope you will now knock on my door and that it will always be open to you. I'd be honored to earn your vote for select board. Thank you. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Jill. Mr. Williams?
Yes, also I echo Scott and Civic League and everybody participated. I think I figured it out the other day. I've stood on the side of the road with a sign for close to 3 weeks combined in the last 16 years. So without getting elected. Like I said, I was born and raised here. I think I bring a lot to the Board of Selectmen if elected. I've worked for some of the biggest contractors in the country. I've been in the aviation industry for 43 years. I'm the last technician here at the airport for the FAA. I was on the Island Home Committee probably 10, 15 years ago. And unfortunately, they didn't go forward with that plan that we suggested. I was also part of the Finance Committee when we discovered the airport's big discrepancies of about $14 million. I was part of initiating OPEB and funding OPEB when nobody knew what OPEB was, which I think really increased our bond rating. I was on the Fire Station Committee. Like I said, 9 years on the FinCom. I was born and raised here. I'm not going anywhere. So that's why I keep running. I keep trying to participate, keep trying to make things better, cheaper, better for the community. So I look for your vote and I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you both very much. We're going to proceed straight into the planning board matter. We have Hillary Hedges-Rayport, the incumbent, and Brian Borgeson, charter captain and scalloper on Nantucket, who was involved heavily in town meeting last fall. I'll turn it over to Brian for his opening statement.
Hi, Scott. Thanks for having me. Sorry, I'm switching back and forth from a baby monitor here to my notes. So I'm just watching my little man sleep here. So my name is Brian Borgeson. I'm a charter captain and a scalloper on Nantucket. Owning a business and making a living on Nantucket in the last few years have become more and more complicated for every single resident. I'm running for a planning board because after last year's vote of Article 1, where 71% of the community overwhelmingly voted to pass rentals, I felt like I needed to get more involved. During the lead up to this vote, I personally spoke with over 300 residents and got a huge feedback on how they felt about our town government and the actions. During these interactions, I feel like I was able to communicate and play a much needed role of helping Islanders understand exactly what the process of this special town meeting was and how a citizen's article was regular from a different town article. I feel my ability to interact and communicate with local residents is part of my huge strength. Along with an overwhelming support from my friends and family, I've decided to throw my hat in the ring and see if I can help this community face the challenges of the next couple decades we have here. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And Hillary, your opening statement, please.
Yes, excuse me. Good afternoon and thank you, Scott. I'm Hillary Rayport. I'm running for re-election to the planning board. Many of you know me for my many years of working diligently on Nantucket for historic preservation, protecting our environment, and advocating for accountable long-range planning. I led the Nantucket Historical Commission for 3 years, and I also spent years working to reform and modernize the NPNEDC, which is Nantucket's regional planning agency. I passed reform twice at town meeting and finally reached a successful consensus vote at town meeting this year. Last year, I decided to run for planning board because we as a community have to decide how to keep what we love about Nantucket while still growing in a sustainable way. We've benefited from growth, but we're also struggling with its effects: traffic, polluted ponds and groundwater, and island families wondering if they can stay or if their children can have a life here. We have to use planning tools, which are zoning and investment, to create a sustainable Nantucket. Obviously, I was victorious last year, and it's been a great year on the planning board. I'm proud of what our board has accomplished as a team. Some might call us a team of rivals, but we are working well together. It's not easy. We have a lot that we need to know. We need to listen. We have to ask questions. Sometimes they're tough questions, but we're also individuals. And this is where the team dynamic comes in. I bring something different to the planning board. And I think this is part of why we are a great team and why we've had a successful year. This year, every article the planning board sponsored was approved at town meeting. So objectively, by that standard, we are more rigorous, we're more effective, and most importantly, we're earning the confidence of the community. People know that I'm an activist, that I care deeply about the community and this island, that I do my homework. I'm not bought and I'm not bossed. I believe I've made a difference on the board this year with positive feedback unsolicited from both sides of the aisle on initiatives that I've championed. And we've made progress on the island's master plan. Our current plan is 17 years out of date, and we as an entire board are working together to change that. It's critical that we finish and adopt a master plan that reflects the community's vision for the future of this island. And there's a lot of interesting work and a lot more to say about the work that we've all done on the planning board. So I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. The first question will be Jason's. And go ahead, Jason.
Okay, thanks, Scott. And hi, Hillary and Brian. Thanks for being here today. I think as we talked about with the select board candidates, some of the top concerns for local voters are affordable housing and then also overdevelopment around the island. Often those concerns can seem to be in conflict. How do you believe the planning board should balance those issues when evaluating the proposals that are submitted for review to the planning board?
We'll go to Hillary first.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely a tension, Jason. So you're right to ask the question and point out the dynamic between those two. No, people don't want more building, but it just seems like we're building and building and we're not getting more housing out of it. We're building more vacation homes and more compounds. And even the smaller houses that we're building, they're not necessarily going at prices that they aren't going at prices that people can afford. I was at the VFW flea market this morning just talking with folks, and I heard from multiple people of all different stripes, there is too much building on this island. And it's difficult to talk about because, of course, the building trade is one of the biggest parts of our economy. So, nobody is really hoping for a recession. To get to some specifics about what I think we can do, we need different types of housing. I said this last year, and I still think it's true. You go out to Richmond development. I think nobody can believe that we built something like this on Nantucket, but it also creates a lot of places for people to live. I was just flipping through the housing department and the Affordable Housing Trust Fund's report, and those that development out at Richmond was critical for creating housing. And I really have to say, in that location with that setback from the road, would that really be so much worse if there were 3 stories on those buildings? So I think we're kind of dogmatic when it comes to the height restriction. And I think we should be a little bit more flexible and figure out how to build bigger buildings that actually work on Nantucket and have the infrastructure that can support them and integrate them into the community without creating negative effects. And that's what I mean when I say planning tools and investment tools. I'll mention quickly one other thing, which is we have to stop shooting ourselves in the foot on the planning board. When people come to us and they want to subdivide their land and they can't do it they can't divide their plan according to our zoning, they need to ask for waivers for subdivision. if we're going to give these waivers, we need to get something in return. So, you have a plot of land, it cannot be subdivided. We will let you divide it and create more housing, but it should be for a year-round family. Or even better, we can say, let's figure out how to make the covenant program work. I'm a big fan of the programs that we have that supplement and make it affordable for people to do the right thing with housing, like the lease to locals and the rooted renters program. We could do something where we, have loans to help people build covenant housing. So I think we need to, do more, be smart about it, invest in it. And also when we give permissions and create more density, we need to make sure that we're creating the right kind of housing and that we're getting for something for what we're giving away. Thank you.
Thank you, Hillary. Captain Morganson.
I actually completely agree with Hillary that as we continue to develop out the island and look for housing for people, I agree that the Richmond project, when you look at it just from the road, it kind of takes you aback. But I know many of my friends and many people that had no opportunity to live on Nantucket were able to buy in Richmond. I also know that through the covenant program and through the housing issues that we've had, like I said, like Hillary said, actually, the single family home may not be the only option for us. We need some covenant apartment buildings for single males and single females. When you build a home is technically 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms, not technically, but it ends up being 2 or 3 bedrooms. And that kind of leaves individuals out fending for themselves. And I know a lot of these individuals, I know people personally living in tents and stuff like that, because when they're looking for housing, they have to go into a shared housing situation with someone else. And then you end up living 4 people in a house, and then it becomes nothing special to you. You end up just being in a crazy dorm. I think also through the ADUs that we really need to let every single local that wants to put an ADU on their property be able to put an ADU on their property for year-round housing. That should be something that the planning board doesn't rubber stamp, but definitely doesn't make someone overcome a huge financial and time burden coming to a planning board meeting, going to an HDC meeting, going to all of these meetings and hiring a lawyer to get a smaller property put on their personal property.
Thank you. The next question is from Dean Geddes.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, candidates. I'm wondering, how do you think the planning board should deal with the unintended consequences of the state's ADU law? That was touched on a little bit at town meeting. People were concerned about kind of infringing on property rights, and yeah.
So that goes to Brian first.
Well, as you know from Article 1, I'm a property rights guy. But as a overdevelopment issue, I believe that some of these ADUs might be limited to year-round housing or family members and not be used as short-term rentals. Yeah, I said it. If someone wants to put an ADU on their property and it's a 2-bedroom ADU, they don't need to have a hotel in their backyard, but they certainly should be able to let their son or their daughter or their family live on their property, even with a waiver. Whatever the planning board should do to keep families together on the same property, like the old Nantucket way, I think should definitely happen.
Thank you. Hillary?
Okay, so ADUs, this is a very interesting and somewhat technical question. I think everybody should write down that Brian just said that ADUs should be restricted from STRs. It was something debated at the planning board, but we felt that there was just so much, definitive feedback from the community that people want unlimited STRs. And so we didn't dare really do anything about the ADUs. So I think we need to have that conversation. Absolutely. I just want to be clear. An ADU, which is a 900 square foot freestanding or attached or internal unit, is by right You only need to get a building permit. It's everywhere island-wide in all of the residential, single-family residential zones. So any place where you can have a single-family residential zone, the state has told us we have to allow these small dwelling units. It's by right. You don't even have to come to the planning board. So there's nothing that the planning board has done right now to make that difficult. Nantucket is number 4 in all of Massachusetts for ADU construction in 2025. We built 27 ADU, we permitted, that doesn't mean they were built. The building department permitted 27 ADUs in 2025. And that was number 4 out of 351 towns. So it's big business. And the ADU is comparable to what a tertiary was. In 10 years, we built 100 tertiaries, about 10 a year approximately. So that shows you the power of making things easy, making it streamlined. You just need a building permit. But here's the problem. You're going to see ADUs come back to town meeting next year, and I hope we do a better and more thorough job, because the problem is the way we've defined ADUs is different from the state. We have excluded the basement if it's unfinished, which makes sense, except when you combine it with the fact that they are completely unrestricted. We cannot restrict them to year round. We chose not to restrict them from STRs. It provides an incentive for a builder, an owner, to create a more expensive ADU with a big basement. We know that basements are big business on Nantucket. The whole point of the ADUs is to encourage affordable, inexpensive, small units. And I think there's some technical ways that we've defined these units that have defeated that purpose. So I buy into the abundance argument for ADUs. I'd like to see us update some of the definitions. And I'm really hopeful that the enthusiasm for ADUs will continue and that they can go to serve some of our missing middle housing needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason, do you have another question?
I do, yeah. Thank you, Scott. This was mentioned earlier, but I'm hoping the candidates can describe their perspective on the town's ongoing, planning board's ongoing master plan process, whether it's on the right track, if there's anything that's missing, and also once it is completed, how do you ensure that it doesn't just sort of sit on the shelf and that it's actively used in the planning decisions that are made by the board?
Thank you. We'll go to Hillary first.
Okay, so is the master plan on the right track, and how will we make sure that doing the master plan makes a difference? So the master plan is some of the things that I'm very happy about are that we really did do a lot of community engagement at the beginning of last year through the middle of last year. We had, the kitchen conversations that people could host. We had a couple days at the high school where people could get together. We hired a consultant that specializes in synthesizing all the surveys that we did and all of the feedback from those sessions into a vision statement. And we did develop and adopt a vision statement. One of the things that I felt strongly about, and others on the board agreed, and we prevailed, was that the vision statement should be really detailed. And honestly, the reason why I wanted a detailed vision statement is because I thought, if we don't actually finish the plan, at least we can finish a really detailed vision statement, and that's better than nothing. So I think we have a great vision statement. It lays out, goals and why we think the goals are important. We have finished, the consultants that we hired, who are Bartlett Planning Group, have finished an inventory, which is, before you plan, you need to figure out, well, what do we have? What are our resources? What are our challenges? And they've also taken a first cut at a statement of challenges and opportunities. We then have to go and turn that into objectives. So I am happy with where we are. I don't think it should have taken 2 years. I think it was really slowed down by the special town meeting that we didn't expect, but got called at the end of last year. So that slowed things down with the master plan. The other thing, frankly, that I think has slowed things down is this election. I think we had workshops that were scheduled that are canceled because I think they want to know who's going to be on the planning board next year and proceed with that. But maybe I've talked too long. I can follow up later with how to make it actually work, because I have some thoughts on that too. Thanks.
Thank you. Brian, over to you.
I feel like in the time I've lived on Nantucket that the zoning issues and the density and the population and what people really want has really changed. We've really talked about over the. Hello?
Go on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
am I logged on there still?
yeah, you're fine. We hear you.
Okay. Yeah, we've talked about the master plan and we've talked about all of these issues. And again, I feel like we hire a consultant and then we have a study and then we do something and then something changes. And then we have an election and then we have a special town meeting. And we really are continually in this ever evolving quote unquote master plan of this island. And I think that everything needs to change. I think our sewer is a huge issue. I think housing and ADUs are going to be a huge issue going forward for what we do on Nantucket. Like, do I love the quote unquote new downtown? No, but that was sold to us by Andrew Vorse at town meeting and we all voted for that. Like I was there at that town meeting and we voted for that. If we could go back now and have that same discussion, would we vote for that right now? I think the answer would probably be absolutely not. So I think going forward, we need to tread lightly on a quote unquote mission statement and a plan and these directives that we're like driving headfirst into and always be stepping back and analyzing how we are developing in a way that we don't jam gigantic, massive buildings into the town.
Thank you. With that, we're out of time. You get your chance for a closing argument, a 1-minute closing argument. We'll start with Hillary Rayport.
Oh, no questions from the chat?
No questions from the chat.
Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. I guess I'll just say what I prepared to say, although I love to talk about planning, so I could talk about the plan more. So through my husband's family, I have a 70-year connection to Nantucket. This is my home. I've worked tirelessly over the past 8 years as a civic volunteer, showing up on nights and weekends all year round for Nantucket. This is, it's just important to say that I'm here, I care. I've proven my commitment to this island over years of hard work and visible, measurable results. And my goal on the planning board is to bring more balance back to the island and more proactive planning so that we can get ahead of our problems rather than constantly reacting to them. As your planning board representative, I will never forget that the planning board and the planning department work for you. Planning is about community, and I pledge to bring the whole community into the community plan. And I hope to earn your confidence and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Hillary Rayport. Brian Borgeson.
Thank you very much. I would ask for your votes for the planning board as demonstrated by my bringing Article 1 to town with 71% of the voters overwhelmingly agreeing about rentals. I think we need to now have a couple of bylaws for those rentals. After the sewer issue at town meeting, I had 6 people from my neighborhood call me about the sewer because they had questions about it. They were too afraid to speak up at town meeting. A lot of people are fearful for speaking in public and speaking at town meeting. And I was able to be a liaison between Nantucket residents and what I think are zoning and issues and all the questions that locals have. So I think my main strength is just being an approachable person that everyone knows where I work every day. And I get a lot of chatter every day, and hopefully you guys will vote for me for planning board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good panel. We're going to move straight into the school committee. We've got 4 candidates for 2 slots: Chantal Blois, Jenny Cook, Heidi Fee, and Tim Lepre. And we will start with, let me get my papers here. We'll just go in that order. I'll introduce Chantal first. Chantal Blois was born in Montego Bay, Jamaica, and moved to Nantucket with her family when she was still in school. She's a graduate of Nantucket High School and serves as Director of Culture and Tourism for the town. Chantal, I'll let you take it from there. 1 minute, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you so much, Scott, and thanks everyone for being here and for having me. I've been told that I'm a fast talker, so I'm going to try to sum up my life in 2 minutes. Here we go. So as mentioned, my name is Chantal Blois. I serve as the Director of Culture and Tourism for the town of Nantucket, and my husband and I also own Broad Street Surf Shop in town. But as mentioned before, not long ago, I was also walking the halls of Nantucket High School as a student. In addition to being the current vice chair of the Nantucket School Committee, I hold seats on the Nantucket Education Trust, Affordable Housing Trust, Nantucket Partnership for Children, and Nantucket Book Foundation. My passion truly lies in giving back to a community that has poured so much into me throughout the last 20 plus years on the island. During my time on the committee, I have worked to ensure every student has access to a safe, supportive, and high quality education. I believe our schools are the foundation of our community, and strong schools create strong futures for our children and families. If reelected, I will continue prioritizing academic excellence, student well-being, equitable funding, and open communication. I believe every child deserves the opportunity to thrive, and that means supporting strong academics, mental health resources, special education, and career and technical learning opportunities. I also believe in supporting our teachers and staff because great educators are at the heart of every successful school system. At the same time, we must continue responsibly supporting programs that have historically been underfunded while maintaining transparency and thoughtful planning. There is still important work ahead as we prepare students for a rapidly changing world while preserving the values and traditions that define Whaler Pride. I'm asking for your support because I care deeply about our schools and our community. It would be an honor to continue serving Nantucket and working on behalf of all students and families. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Jenny Cook. Jenny's a year-round member of the Nantucket community, a mother of 4 Nantucket public school students, and a youth soccer coach. And Jenny, I'll let you fill in the rest yourself.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Good afternoon, and thank you to the Civic League for hosting. I do just want to give a quick shout out to my grade 5 girls D1 soccer team. They have a game today, and I can't be there, so sorry, but thank you for their understanding. So my name is Jenny Cook, and I'm running for school committee. I've been a year-round Nantucket resident for over 20 years. My husband, Jim Cook, a local arborist on the island, and I moved from Pennsylvania after graduating from Penn State University. I'm a local girls soccer coach, a longtime Swim Across America participant, a Girl Scout leader, and serve as vice president of the Nantucket Stage Company, our island's youth theater program. I'm involved in the lacrosse club, soccer club, ice hockey, t-ball, and I'm a member of the First Congregational Church. A hobby I enjoy is to run marathons for charities to help raise awareness of kids' mental and physical health. But most importantly, I'm a mom to 4 Nantucket natives. I'll have a child in each of our public schools: Nantucket High School, Cypress Pierce Middle School, Nantucket Intermediate, and Nantucket Elementary School. I am very invested in this community, and I believe that having a child in every public school gives me a unique outlook on how I can help with budget, policy, and helping to support Nantucket families, teachers, and administrators. I really would like to listen to our community and students and help to be a voice for the changes that they'd like to see. A school committee member is elected by the community to be a public servant to our schools and students, and I want to be just that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Heidi Fee. Heidi's the executive director and head of school at Small Friends of Nantucket. Heidi, over to you.
Thank you, Scott. I am Heidi Fee, and I'm the executive director and head of school at Small Friends on Nantucket. I'm a Nantucket native, and I attended Nantucket Public Schools from kindergarten through graduation. I have 3 children. My 2 daughters attended Nantucket Public Schools, kindergarten through graduation. My oldest daughter just finished her junior year at the new school in Manhattan, and my youngest daughter just finished her freshman year at Sacred Heart University in Connecticut. My son is currently a sophomore at the Nantucket High School. And he has been in our Nantucket Public Schools from pre-K. I was an at-home mother for 12 years. During this time, I volunteered at the elementary school, helping 3rd grade students with their reading fluency. I was a member of the elementary school council, organized teachers' lunches, and we created the very first lip sync. I revived the dormant Nantucket Public Schools Special Needs Advisory Board. and was the president of that for 3 years. I also served 2 years as the president of the Nantucket Swimming Booster Club. I began working at Small Friends 11 years ago, and during that time, I earned my bachelor's degree in early education, my master's degree in education, and I am a Director 2 certified by the Massachusetts Department of Education and Care. I will graduate in June with my second master's degree in leadership and administration, qualifying me for principal licensure in the public school system. I have spent 11 years educating, guiding, and preparing our youngest islanders to enter kindergarten. I am running for school committee because I believe it is my responsibility as an educator to not only ensure my graduating students receive the best quality education, but when they move on to Nantucket Public Schools, all of the children on Nantucket enjoy the same opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. And finally, we have Tim Lepre, a well-known doctor on town, Harvard College, Tufts Medical School. He's been at the Nantucket Cottage Hospital since '83, and of course, he's been involved in a lot of other initiatives. Dr. Lepre, over to you, please.
Thank you. And to the Civic League. I've been on island 43 years. I've been on school committee probably 35 years. School committee is a funny organization of mostly non-teachers governing schools, but we're very limited. We can hire a superintendent, which I've done 5 out of the last 6 superintendents, set policy, and deal with the budget. I am concerned about a couple of issues that are coming up. The first issue is we have a falling school population. We lost 80 kids last year, and the superintendent really wasn't able to tell us why and where they went. The second issue is our reading scores through grades 3 through 8. Only 28% of our children are at grade level or above grade level. That means that roughly 3/4 of our kids are not really doing very well. A third issue is we have to identify these kids and identify them earlier. I brought this up previously, but we're still not really investigating these kids until 3rd grade, and I think that that's too late. You know, one way to deal with the problem is not look into it. And if you don't look into it, you don't have a problem. But I think we have a problem. Another problem I see coming up on the future, just to scare all the people applying for the selectmen, is I think that the elementary school is probably going to have to be replaced. It's a building out of the 70s. It has a lot of mold. And I see that that is something we have to start thinking about. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm very interested in school committee. Thank you.
Thank you. The first question will be coming from Dean Geddes, and we'll start with Jenny.
Okay. Yeah. So my question is, turf and athletic improvements have kind of been a dominant topic in recent months. But going beyond that, what do you see as the most urgent issue facing Nantucket Public Schools?
Sure. So obviously, the turf has been a big one, which I do support. I would have to say that what Dr. Lepre had said, I would definitely take a look at the elementary school. It does need a lot of work. I think also looking even at the middle school, both of those we would definitely need to take a look at both of those. They both would need some work, but especially, as Dr. Lepre had said, the elementary school.
Thank you. Heidi?
Thanks so much. The turf field it was quite a conversation. I support the turf field 100%. I do agree with Dr. Lepre. The elementary school, even when my children were there, we were talking about building the NIS that was part of school council. And the elementary school was for sure a concern. I also believe that the Nantucket High School have been in a lot for open houses and things. We need to take a look at that as well. So there's a lot of building improvements that need to happen. We also have an issue with teacher retention, teacher housing, for specialists, OTs, PTs, speech therapists, ABAs. We don't have housing for these people, so they're quite migrant, and they're not always there with consistency for our children with differing abilities. And I think that's a huge issue that we need to tackle.
Thank you, Heidi. Dr. Lepre?
As regards the turf fields, I'll only say mistakes were made. And we'll see how this all plays out, but I don't want to pick at that scab right now. I alluded to, I think the reading scores have to be improved. We have to look at our population loss. I mean, losing essentially a class last year is going to be a real problem as we get down into the 1500s from 1700 plus. And as I mentioned, the looking at the elementary school, because it is a real problem. We put patches on it, but it really doesn't work. Thank you.
Thank you. Shantara?
Thank you. Yes, conversations around the turf field most certainly took well-needed attention from other issues that our public school is facing. One of them being ensuring that students have access to high-quality education while addressing the growing pressures on student mental health, staffing, and affordability on the island. Our teachers and staff are the foundation of our schools, but Nantucket's housing costs and cost of living, forgive me, I'm downtown, you're hearing the ferry horn, and cost of living, it makes it increasingly difficult to recruit and retain excellent educators. And unfortunately, when we lose experienced teachers or struggle to fill open positions, our kids are who feel the impact. Another issue is that our kids are facing unprecedented mental health and social emotional challenges amongst right now. Kids are dealing with navigating academic pressures, social media, anxiety, and of course, we can't forget the lingering effects of the pandemic. And we need to support our students, and that means investing not only in their academic needs, but also in counseling, behavioral support, and creating school environments where all of our kids feel safe, where they feel connected, and where they're ready to learn. And then, of course, you know, we have to maintain high academic standards while ensuring that kids, while ensuring equity and opportunity for all of our students, from early literacy and special education services to college, career, and vocational pathways. As we know, many of our kids don't even set foot in a traditional college classroom. We're a big trades community, and we need to support our kids in that way as well by providing those opportunities. And I know I only have a minute, so I'll stop there because I could go on forever.
Thank you. Your second question will come from Jason from the Current. And we'll start with Heidi.
Thanks, Scott. And hi to all the candidates. Thanks for being here. Jumping off on a couple people mentioned technology in the schools. The school committee implemented a bell-to-bell ban on cell phones in the high school and CPS. Talk about, you know, whether you support that or not, how well it's working, if tweaks need to be made. And there's been reporting recently about even, you know, some schools potentially going farther in talking about the impact that giving every kid a laptop. Is that a good thing? Is that does it enhance learning? Have there been some drawbacks to that? Give us your assessment of the cell phone ban, how well it's working, if things need to be changed, and any other thoughts you have on technology and use of laptops and that kind of thing in the classroom in learning.
So when it comes to technology, because my son is in high school, and I have to say I think although it's been great, they have Yondr pouches. I think it's been amazing for their attention spans. They're able to focus more. They're not worried about the next ping on their phone. I do believe they've come up with experimental ways on how to get around the Yondr pouches. I think when it comes to technology, we have to be very careful because unfortunately, these children are smarter than us when it comes to technology. So if we're giving them laptops and we're giving them devices, they all have smartwatches and such. So they know a lot more about technology than we do. So if we're going to allow technology in the classroom, of course it has benefits, but I think we need to stay on top of the students when it comes to those things. And again, I think cell phones are hard enough for adults to ignore. I think having the children in school with cell phones, it does not benefit them at all.
Thank you. Tim Lepre?
I am told by my wife, who had 30 years experience as a guidance counselor and a nurse in the school, that cell phones are the bane of our existence. So I think getting rid of them, it does stimulate a certain interest in bypassing that by our students, but that's just being creative. But I think it's an important step. Regarding screens, we subject our kids to screens all day long, whether it's a whiteboard, whether it's a computer. I think we need to look at cutting down their screen time, particularly in the lower grades. I would also advocate for getting our kids out of the school and having them outside and running around, because I think that that's important for their mental development. Sitting in front of a screen all day is not, particularly in the lower grades, an effective way of teaching kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Chantal?
Thank you. I was 100% on board with the bell-to-bell ban of the cell phones in the school. I think that the primary responsibility that we have is to create positive learning environments, and cell phones are a massive distraction to us as adults. So I can't imagine what it's like to be 16 sitting in a classroom with your phone constantly pinging. I think we've seen great results from that ban. We also have heard from our student body representative at our school committee meetings that it has been incredibly positive, been an incredibly positive experience for them. And I had the pleasure of sitting in the cafeteria for lunch in the high school. And I felt like I was back in high school, how it was before, where kids actually communicated with each other, you know, and they weren't constantly looking at their phones. So that was absolutely the right decision. We've also seen other school districts moving towards that as well. And most importantly, going to conferences throughout the last year and having conversations with other school committee members from various districts that wanted to learn more about how our implementation of that ban has gone. So as usual, Nantucket led the way, as we always do in that regard. As far as computers in the classroom, I think also we are living in a technological age, and we have to prepare our kids for post Nantucket public school experience, but it's also about ensuring that there's purpose and structure. So school issued technology used in the classroom should most certainly be monitored, and I think our educators do a phenomenal job of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Jenny Cook?
Yes, hi. Sorry, my kids just came through. Yes, I do. I do support the bell to bell yonder pouches. I was really happy about that. I do, because I believe that our schools should be places where students are fully present, academically, socially, and emotionally. We've seen firsthand how constant phone access affects focus, increases anxiety, fuels social pressure, and pulls students out of the classroom, even when they're physically sitting in it. Teachers are competing with TikTok and group chats and notifications all the time, every minute of the day. So I agree with the Yonder system that it creates healthy boundaries without taking phones away permanently. Students still have their phones, you know, before and after school, but during the day, it's a priority that learning relationships and engagements. You want learning relationships and engagement to be a priority. And I think we need to know that this isn't about punishment. It's about creating an environment where kids can concentrate, participate, and actually connect with one another again. So I think that schools are seeing better attention, fewer behavior issues, and more face-to-face interaction after these policies were put in place. For Nantucket, this is about supporting student wellness and giving teachers the ability to teach without constant digital distraction. And I know I completely understand why, parents want to be able to reach their children during the school day. But I also believe that there's a difference between that accessibility and that constant interruption. So calling the school and emailing the front office, communicating with your teachers are all effective ways to reach students. And I know in the younger grades, we have the Remind app, and the teachers do an amazing job keeping parents informed during the day with photos and updates. So that's great. And I think that we have to trust, which I'm so happy we trust the educators and the staff, because they do a wonderful job. And so yes, I supported the Yonder pouches for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got an interesting question in the chat from Clay Evans, but I'm afraid we're out of time. Maybe you all can see it and just ponder on it, but it's time for closing arguments, and we will start with Dr. Lepre.
In closing, I'm running because I think I bring a lot of experience to the school committee. As I said, I've hired 5 superintendents and worked for the 6th. I've been on the school committee on good days when we've beaten the Vineyard, and I've been on school committee when we've had bad days, when we went through the teen suicides. So I have tremendous experience with the school system and how it works. I have the time to do it, and I have a large interest in it. So I would ask you for your vote. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Next up is Shanta.
Thank you. Thank you again for being here, all of you today, and for your continued commitment to our schools and our community. It's been an honor to serve on the school committee, and I remain dedicated to ensuring every student has the support and opportunities they need to succeed. I'd be grateful for your support and your vote so we can continue building a strong future for all Nantucket students. Thank you.
Thank you. Jenny Cook.
Thank you, Scott, Dean, Jason, and the Civic League, and the whole Nantucket community for this opportunity today. I believe I'm a great candidate for the school committee because I'm deeply invested in this community, both as a parent and as someone who believes strongly in our public schools. Having a child in every Nantucket public school gives me a unique perspective on the full student experience, from elementary school through high school. And it helps me understand where we're succeeding and where we can improve. I believe strong schools require thoughtful budgeting, smart policy decisions, and real support for our administrators, students, and teachers who are doing incredibly important work every single day. But most importantly, I want to listen. I want to hear directly from families, educators, and especially students about the changes they'd like to see and the challenges they're facing. Our schools work best when the community feels heard and involved. I'd like to be a steady, collaborative voice that helps to move Nantucket Public Schools forward in a positive and student-centered way. I'd love to earn your vote on May 19th. Thank you.
Thank you. And closing out the panel is Heidi Fee. Heidi.
Thank you. I would like to first thank the Civic League for providing the opportunity for the candidates to gather, and I appreciate the effort that everyone's put in. If elected to school committee, I will provide the opportunity to share my knowledge. Because of my current role in education, I have much experience reviving, curating, and balancing a budget, albeit smaller than the Nantucket public school budget. Nonprofit budgets are a category all on their own. It is an asset for school committee members to understand childhood growth and development. because it is our responsibility to understand how our curriculum aligns with the stage of development as well as the district goals for our students. A curriculum needs to be consistently improved upon to ensure our students are reaching their greatest potential. And finally, as a member of our school committee, it is our job to advocate for students, parents, and teachers. The structure of our entire public school system begins with the teachers. We need to be listening to their ideas and concerns, collaborating with them, supporting and advocating for them. And when we nurture and help our teachers grow in their craft, it creates a trickle effect, and our students will benefit every time. If I were to be lucky enough to be elected to school committee, that's where I would start. To fulfill our promise to advocate for children, teachers, and families, we need to know who they are, collect the data, and ensure we are providing support and tools our teachers and students need to promote achievement and a lifelong love of learning. Thank you, Nantucket, for considering me for school committee.
Thank you to all the candidates, and the best of luck to all of you. It's a great panel. We're going to move on right away to the Water Commission. There are 3 people running for 2 vacancies on the Water Commission. 2 of them could not be here today, meaning we only have 1 candidate for the Water Commission. That's Curtis Barnes, and Curtis is here. He's been a full-time resident of Nantucket for 43 years. He's a former university administrator. He's now the owner of Nantucket Island Homes, Inc., and is a member of the Town Government Study Committee, the Town Council Study Committee, and has been on the Water Commission for 2 years, or for 2 terms. So Curtis, I'll turn it over to you to make your opening statement.
Okay, I don't see myself on the screen. Am I up there? Hello? I'm on the screen? Okay, well, I have a prepared statement about the Water Commission that I'd like to share. The primary objective of the Water Commission is to provide safe drinking water for the island, as well as an adequate supply to meet emergencies such as the Veranda House fire. The Nantucket Water Commission is an independent government agency established when the then private water company was sold to the town. The commission has independent financial authority subject to town guidelines, and it is attached to town government, but with separate funding and budgeting authority. If you have both town water and town sewer, you will see that the monthly bill you receive from the water company also includes your sewer fees. This is actually a convenience, as sewer fees are generally based on the amount of water used. However, sewer fees are not set by the Water Commission. They are set by the Sewer Commission, which is actually the select board acting as sewer commissioners. The Water Commission has no say in sewer fees. The Water Department billing simply includes sewer fees as a matter of convenience. And I think that's important because if you looked at your combined water sewer bills lately, you're seeing that the sewer component is a very large part of that bill. As a water commissioner over the past 5 years, and as a former university public relations officer, one of my particular concerns has been keeping the public informed about the important improvements in the water company over the past several years, and in particular to the recent concerns about PFAS in our drinking water. As an independent commission, the Water Department is in a position to respond quickly and affirmatively to concerns about our drinking water. We do not have to wait for annual town meeting to approve corrective action, as we saw in the lengthy discussion about the Somerset area needs sewer expansion proposal at last week's meeting. As an independent commission, the Water Commission can respond quickly when problems occur, as we did when PFAS intrusion was discovered from the airport on Nobodere Way. We also responded quickly when PFAS was discovered on Tom's Way off Old South Road, on Oak Hollow Road off Hummock Pond Road and in the Matacasham area. It's an island-wide concern, and we are looking at where the sources are and how to deal with it. So as the water commissioners, we are first looking out for the public's interest in providing safe drinking water and in providing timely information about the water company is doing and why. And I hope to continue that if reelected. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll pose a question to you. I think it's Jason's turn to go first.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. And Curtis, good to have you here. We saw yesterday that the state moved Nantucket back into a critical or a significant level 2 drought status. This has been a topic of the Water Commission going back into last year. And moving into the summer, this is obviously a time when landscaping begins, irrigation begins, and you're going to be looking at restrictions and potential fines. Can you talk about the Commission's approach to dealing with the drought status, balancing both the need to enforce and have a level of enforcement while also working with companies and irrigation companies that are trying to get to work this time of year?
Well, thank you. I anticipated that question. I think Dean did an excellent job in the report that was published yesterday, and I read this morning. The Water Commission does not establish the drought concerns, as you know. It's a state mandate. Unfortunately, we have had a lot less rain this year than any other part of the Cape or even Martha's Vineyard. But when I look at the question of enforcement, I ask you this question. If someone were driving 80 miles an hour down the Milestone Road and got stopped and got a fine, do you think they should be fined? Well, I do. And the same thing applies to the people who do not follow the guidelines that have been established in response to the state mandate. Our director, Mark Willett, is up at 5 o'clock in the morning, riding around. He knows who the people are that are continuing to irrigate, even though they have been asked not to. Our new monitoring system allows you to look at peak times, and I think that was quoted in the article. In the middle of the night, if your irrigation's going on, we see it. I think in the best interests of the community, we have to abide by the regulations. It's painful. I don't turn my irrigation on anymore. I have a little drip hose that I use for a couple hours. But right now, fortunately, we have a very adequate water supply. We have 5 wells that are available. We are way below any PFAS threshold as far as our drinking water. And we do have emergency wells in the case of something like the Veranda fire. So I think we're unfortunately on the right track, and I hope that it gets resolved soon. Let's have some rain.
Thank you. Dean, do you have a question for Mr.
Yeah,
Barton?
sure. Thanks, Curtis. I appreciate that. And thanks for joining us. I just wanted to follow up a little bit on what Jason asked. Do you think the fines were successful last year? Did they work? Or do you think they need to have more teeth this year?
Well, quite frankly, the structure is you get a warning, then you get a 250, then I think it's 500, and after that's 1,000. We know that there are people who live in certain parts of the island who just bring a check in and say, when it's gone, I'll give you another one. I think we should make an example, perhaps even publish the names of the people who are fined, like you do in the court report, and that might go away to encourage them not to do it. But right now, I am in favor of keeping the fine system in and enforcing it.
Thank you. That'll conclude this panel, Curtis, unless you have a final statement you'd like to make.
Well, I just want to say that Snooki Eldridge, who can't be here with us this morning, has been a wonderful partner on the Water Commission, and we are both candidates for re-election. I think we paid a lot of attention to it. Our job is to support the staff of the water department and to support the community by serving you well, representing you. So I ask for your vote, and I look forward to seeing you at the ballot next week. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Curtis. Good luck to you. Get my mutes and unmutes mixed up. Sorry, Curtis. Thank you very much. We're going to move on now to the land bank panel. Neil Patterson and Graham Vesey, if I said that right. I will introduce you. Let me see here. Graham is a small business owner, parent, and year-round resident running the Nantucket Land Bank Commission. You usually find her out in the community with her husband and kids and the dog. You can add more, Graham. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Scott, for hosting this for everybody. And you did a pretty good job pronouncing my last name. So hi, everyone. I'm Graham Vesey, and I'm running for Land Bank. I'm a mom of 3 girls. I'm married to my high school sweetheart. I'm a small business owner on the island, and I'm an avid land bank trail runner and someone who has found an incredible community at the NRSA, which sits on the land bank land. One thing, this might sound a little corny, but one thing I tell my 3 girls all the time is that the most important thing in a friend is someone who is safe and reliable. That is what I want to be for this community. Transparent, consistent, and willing to listen, even when the feedback is hard to hear. As an interior designer managing multi-year projects, I know how to collaborate, solve problems, and bring people together to get things done. Those skills translate directly to public service. I believe in Land Bank's mission, and honestly, that's part of why I'm here. You don't run for something you don't believe in. But believing in the mission doesn't mean you can't push it to do more. And I think there are a few conversations this community is ready to have as the land bank begins to focus less on acquisitions and more on community needs. But the public needs to be engaged in a meaningful way. First, housing. The first-time homebuyer exemption is a great thing, but the threshold needs to be reassessed. Raise it to $2 million or realistically more, since the median home price is around $3.5 million. The land bank fee should not be an obstacle for the people who keep this island running. The cost of living here has far surpassed what the exemption was designed for. Second, recreation. I'm very passionate about recreation. And I became passionate about Article 12, which is the school athletic project, because that showed me how significant the gaps are on this island when it comes to recreation. I believe the land bank needs more community input on what Nantucket actually needs. In 2023, the land bank adopted a policy saying indoor recreation is not an appropriate use of its property. After the winter we just had, I strongly urge that that position deserves another look. Affordable, weatherproof space for community gatherings, practices, games, classes. It's not a luxury. I actually think at this point it's a need. And it could be an absolutely integral part of this island and something we could all be really, really proud of. So I just really want to frame the conversation from here on out of here's why we can't to here's why we can. And that's why I'm running, and I'd love your vote.
Thank you. Next up is Neil Patterson.
Hello. Thank you to the Civic League and Scott for running a very good program here. My name's Neil Patterson, and I'm asking for your support for a re-election to the Land Bank. I've called Nantucket home since 1979. I'm married, I raised 2 children here, and I put them through the public schools. My commitment to the island is rooted in service. Beyond the land bank, I've served for 20 years as a coal firefighter. I was on the police, fire, and lately the DPW committees. I'm running again because the Land Bank's mission is now more vital today than ever. Having served as chair for 8 years, I've offered steady leadership, institutional knowledge to navigate our island's unique challenges and the changes that we must evolve with. I firmly believe that, echoing what Graham was saying, I'm listening, and the board's listening. We are at a stage where we need to push the limits of what we can do under our act, and I have the time, experience, and the love of Nantucket, and it's been so good to me that I would like to ask respectfully for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Your first question will come from Dean Geddes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, candidates. You both kind of just touched on this in your opening statement, but I think it's kind of an important topic, so I'm going to ask you to expand on kind of the land bank's expanding focus. As Graham mentioned, there's been a push for housing, indoor recreation. Do you think the land bank should stay focused primarily on conservation and open space, or should it begin to shift its focus? And if you think it should shift its focus, what would you say to people who would say that shifting its focus would take away from its core kind of conservation mission?
Yeah, we'll start with Neil. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's an excellent question. As I alluded to in my previous statement, I'm definitely listening. We're at a crossroads of where we go. We've become incredibly successful. Under the Act, which I would really counsel against not going to Beacon Hill to open up, because you don't know what you're going to end up with when you go to Beacon Hill. I'm really proud of what we managed to do, and I think I could really, with my ability to maintain an open mind and my accessibility, I'd be able to going forward. I think I could really continue what I've got a track record, and I'm happy and I'm proud of what I've done. Every vote I made, I think I made the right decision, but I'm always open to talking to people about it, and I have a position. I'm willing to think about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Graham?
So yeah, I actually think that there can be a balance between community investment and conservation. And Land Bank is very good at getting creative in that area. You can look at, are we doing something on land that already has a structure on it and things like that. But I think that the way that the act was written, there are certain things in it that it is really can be open for interpretation, right? And so you could find a lawyer who's going to tell you that you can't do it, but then you're going to be able to also find a lawyer who can tell you that you can do it. And so to me, it's all about engaging the public and really getting a feel for what the community wants. Where are their priorities? I mean, as I've kind of said, a huge thing for me is recreation. I do know that if I'm honored enough to get elected, that at times I have to check my priority at the door. And if the community has a bigger priority than mine, I have to respect that. And if it's for the community is urging us to take a look at housing and try to get creative with it, I support that. I support what the community wants. And I think we just have to really engage them to kind of get a finger on the pulse of where what we're missing right now and what we're not seeing. Thank you.
Thank you. Your next question will come from Jason, and it'll go to Graham first.
All right, thanks, Scott, and thank you to Neil and Graham for joining us. Want to get a little bit more specific on that last discussion. As we know, the land bank, one of the three purposes it has for acquiring and managing land is recreation. But in 2023, the Land Bank Commission adopted a policy that prohibits its properties from being used for indoor recreation. In your opinion, is that policy well-founded, and should it stay in place? or should the Land Bank Commission revisit that policy in light of recent communities' discussions about the need for additional fields and recreational opportunities? So specifically on that policy that was adopted in 2023.
Gotcha. I think you're probably going to know my answer, but I read the act, and when I was looking over the act, which is not the policy, when I was looking at the act in section 4, the way that I interpret it, and I understand I'm not a lawyer, but it does not call out indoor recreation and say that you can't do indoor recreation. And so to me, when the policy was written for 2023, that they're not going to pursue outdoor or indoor, and it's outdoor only, that to me is an interpretation of how the act was written. And I don't necessarily agree with it. And to me, I would strongly urge us to take a look at it again.
Over to you, Neil. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Graham, you're absolutely right. We voted to define it, just to try and, we were getting so many requests. And one of the projects we looked at was this massive 2-acre heated indoor facility, which would have probably cost, at the time, someone said $40 million because it needed employee housing and everything. So we felt that there was a need at that time, and I backed it at the time, to define it. But hey, I'm totally open to looking at collaborations. I mean, realistically, there's probably more money now because everything we have to do is prevailing wage and all the rest of the stuff and current bidding, and the state don't make it easy. But if we could get a collaboration with, the land bank, say, supplied the land, then somebody else built it, and then some, the land bank doesn't have to get into, I was listening to some of these building projects, they put in a 50% Nantucket factor to build anything, which I don't think it's that much, but it's probably pretty close to it. So, if I'm lucky enough to be reelected, I would definitely take a look at this again. But I don't think the land bank has historically, apart from the golf courses, we don't charge for any use of our properties. And what concerns me from a businessman as well, how would you build this and finance it and heat it and keep it free? I think that would be a dramatic change to the land bank. And we still have to remember one of our 3 legs is conservation. But and we've had some really good collaborations. I mean, the houses at Jefferson are heading over to the Nantucket Road soon, and we've had, we take it really seriously, and I'm proud of my participation in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dean, I don't know if you have another question or not, or Jason.
Sure, I can ask one. I wanted to ask now, given the high cost of real estate now, you're looking at really high price tags when you acquire a property. So what kind of math, or what should the land bank be looking at when spending a large amount of money for a property?
Neil first.
So did you say what was the high, what is, I didn't quite hear the end of that question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just essentially what should be like the goals, or what should be the targets when looking at acquiring a property now? Now you have to be pretty selective given the cost.
Well, without revealing the inner secrets of executive session, and you're coming around this in a very funny way. For me, if we're looking at a property, it would have to be adjoining existing public access or public property. Waterfront is huge. I mean, that we spent an enormous amount of money down on Jefferson. I mean, probably the most uncomfortable vote I've ever made. I'm only glad now that it's all going to with our new collaborations with the housing groups. So recently, we really haven't been, not many big projects have come on, which frees up money for collaborations again. And the board absolutely hears what the community want. And we recently did a survey to get feedback again. And if people want indoor recreation, if I'm lucky enough to be elected, that's what I'm going to be looking at, because shame on me if I bring my own views, Calvinist as they may be, but I need to be receptive. Thank you.
So I think, as you know, Neil was saying, like the acquisitions, the big ones you have to do, they've done a great job of, if a property's adjacent, you're kind of looking for stuff that can tie into their existing, their existing land or existing conservation land. I think another really important ask of every piece of property maybe that comes across their, desk is like, what's the highest and greatest use of this piece of land, right? So what's the return on the investment, and what can we do with this to, really help the public? Is it something with a ton of buildings on it that we can repurpose, like Neil was saying they're doing with 41 Jefferson, which is awesome, and moving them. But I think that it really just has to be an ask that you ask yourself all the time, is now at this point where the land becoming available is less and less, is what is the highest and greatest use of this piece of land, and how is it going to benefit the community, and what's the greatest number of people that it can benefit?
Speaking of highest and greatest use, would either of you support the development of more public golf course holes on the island? We'll start with Graham.
I'm a terrible golfer. So I don't know I mean, don't know much about that, to be honest, Scott. I guess I know Skinner's, I believe, is a 9-hole course. I know golfers love their golf, and I fully support it. I have a family of golfers. I'm just terrible. I guess I have to say I'm not against or not for it, because I don't know enough about it. I don't know what you'd have to take away in order to get more, to get, 9 more holes or something like that. So I can't, to be honest, I can't really speak to it.
And Neil, before you answer, just so you know, I'm on the waiting list at Maya Comet.
I was kind of hoping we could get through this whole thing without talking about golf. Recently, I was at a meeting where a group of very concerned, well-meaning citizens proposed that we would put another 18 holes in at Maya Comet. The numbers we were given by our consultant, it's $3 million a hole. So we can all do the mathematics on that. Golf members over the last few years, the revenue or the golf games has fallen 3-4% every year. I think the waiting list at Maya Comet, we're trying to get it 300. We're about 325 right now. So you might have to wait a few more years, Scott. But and then you've got to deal with the state. It's so difficult I've been on the board 15 years. We've just got the driving range extended 150 feet. And that's going back, it's the land is restricted. The state would be looking for all kinds of trade-offs. And then there's the water, the massive amounts of water. We're pretty well maxed out with our water permit. And so I hate to sound like a naysayer, but I think we have to do, the money would be better spent, and I'm going to say it, indoor recreation. So that would be a better way of doing it, as possibly the golf. No, I would not be in favor of that. I love golf. I'm Scottish after all. But
Scott, you're muted.
Oh, sorry.
So I missed all of that.
The irony. I said thank you very much. Time for closing arguments, closing statements. Neil, you go first.
Thank you. In closing, I just say experience matters, and so does a track record. If it isn't broken, don't fix it. But I'm happy to say I've always been able to listen, and I'm still listening. I've always been approachable and accountable. I'm very comfortable with my record, and I'll stand behind it, and will continue to do so. This election for the land bank has shown even more so how we need, as a commission, to listen more, and I get it. I totally get it. With my leadership experience and time, I'm up for the challenge, and I would respectfully ask for your votes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Graham?
Thank you, Neil, and thank you, Scott, and thank you, everybody, for today. So What drew me to the island in my 20s was the beach days, the energy, the work hard, play hard mentality. But now in my 40s, I've discovered pockets of this island that my 20-year-old self never knew existed. The trails, the open space, and the quiet. But what makes me want to stay here and raise a family? That's the community. If I forget to pick up my kids at practice, which does happen, someone has them. And if I need to ride the boat, no problem. The land bank is woven into the fabric of this island. The open space, the trails, the NRSA, the golf club. And so is this community, the one that has my back when I drop the ball. I have an incredible passion for recreation. When I saw the land bank had an open seat, an organization with recreation and conservation in its mission, it had me at hello. I love what they do and respect the vast knowledge they bring. But communities also benefit from fresh perspectives, thoughtful questions, someone who is willing to listen, learn, and adapt. I would love to engage the public in an inclusive and thoughtful way, where we can find where their priorities overlap with the land banks. The land bank belongs to this community, and I want to show up for all of us. I'd be honored to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you both. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to the last panel, and we have a little bit of a problem because there are 3 candidates for 1 seat. They all 3 candidates expected to be here. Right before we started, Kevin Korn contacted me to say that he was going to be on an airplane at 1:30 and was hoping to be able to join from the airplane, but we'll see. I haven't seen him pop up yet. Also, Peter Brace, the incumbent, was going to be here. Is he here? Are you there, Peter? He was on earlier, so I don't know if he's going to pop on or not, but I guess we'll get started. Matt Peel is here. He's the 3rd candidate. Matt is a year-round resident, avid fisherman with a long history of involvement in local government. I will turn it over to him for his introduction and if he wants to add any color to that. Matt?
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. Yes, I'm running.
There's Peter, by the way. Sorry. Thanks.
Oh,
that's good.
That's all right. Did you want to start with Peter?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Yep, my name is Matthew Peel. I am running for the Harbor and Shellfish Advisory Board. Yeah, as Scott said, I also serve on the Visitor Services Advisory Committee as vice chair. I've been on the Visitor Service Advisory Committee now for 2 terms. And I serve as a board member of the South, or excuse me, drawing a blank here now. I added my intro. Of the Surfside Community or Surfside Neighborhood Association. And I'm an avid fisherman, father of 3, and yada yada yada. So, but with that, I'd like to go into, why I'm running for this board. Why, the Shellfish and Harbor Advisory Board is a very interesting board. This board this year marks the 50th anniversary of this board's creation. And so it's been around for 50 years, and it's a very quiet board. It is an advisory board, but they do a lot of heavy lifting. They do a lot of interesting things, from advising, working with the Nantucket and Nantucket Harbors Action Plan Update Committee. You have members from the advisory board on that. There's numerous different things that this board does, more than I think most people just realize and think of this board as kind of raising and lowering the bushel limit on scallops, because that's usually where they see them go to the select board for. But there's many different capacities. And one of the things that really drew me to this board, and well, let's look at what makes up a good board. And a good board is diverse, experienced professionals who provide strategic guidance. This board's entering into an interesting time right now. We have a scallop industry that used to have 200 fishermen out on the water on opening day, and now is down. I believe this year it opened with 8. And so looking at that, looking at the apprenticeship program, what changes can be made. I am a big advocate of looking at a junior apprenticeship program. What can we do for kids that maybe decide that, don't go to college or maybe take online classes after they graduate high school? What can we do to help maybe have them look at a different industry instead of construction or landscaping? Can we get them back into the fishing industry? I'm a big advocate. This board is going to be looking at having 3 articles on next year's annual town meeting. There's going to be a no wake article, a debarkation fee article, and then again, the apprenticeship program. These are all things that take a town meeting vote. And so I think one of my reasons and why I want to join this board is my experience in town meeting. I've sponsored or experience in the my local civic experience. I've sponsored citizen warrant articles. I have worked with many of the towns. I run a shipping company on island, and I've worked with many of the boards and committees on the town, and I want to be able to bring that experience to this board. It's an exciting board. Also, one of the, I wouldn't call it a passion project, but one of the things I'm very excited about is to see what we can do to revitalize our herring run and that herring run population in the ponds. And so that would be an amazing project to work on with the Natural Resource Department, the town biologists, and so on. And so I think there's a lot of really exciting times ahead for this board, and I'm excited to hopefully be on it and help out. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Brace, we're glad to see you. Peter's previously covered the Harbor and Shellfish Advisory Board as the environmental reporter for the Nantucket Beacon and the Nantucket Independent. He's been here for 36 years, and he's the author of Nantucket, A Natural History and Walking Nantucket. And he also guides island hikes with Nantucket Walkabout. Peter, we'll turn it over to you for your introductory comments.
Okay. Thank you, Scott, and everybody that's here. I've served on the Harbor and Shellfish Advisory Board since 2011, 5 years as chairman, 10 years as secretary. I'm our board's representative, acting as chairman on the Coastal Resilience Advisory Board. While serving on the Harbor and Shellfish Advisory Board, we've reviewed and amended the town's shellfish regulations twice. We also reviewed and amended the town's mooring regulations. I helped update the Nantucket and Nantucket Harbors Action Plan, the 2009, as the Coastal Resilience Advisory Board representative on the Nantucket and Nantucket Harbors Action Plan Update Committee. The updated plan is due to be released sometime this year. Let's see, Matt's right about how the bay scallop fishery is evolving. There's fewer people scalloping. I'd say maybe 100 boats were going back in the day, as we say, and there was a year, 1980, I believe the harvest was over 100,000 bushels. Now it's maybe 30 boats total, yielding 400 bushels this past season that just entered, more than 10,000 for the 2024-25, and 8,709 bushels the season before that. So fewer people scalloping, working against the hatchery's efforts to put as many scallops into the water as possible means that not all the adults are caught every year. Selling them really isn't the problem because increasingly scalpers are getting their wholesaler permits and selling their catch off island for more money than island buyers are willing to pay per pound. I agree with Matt. The apprentice program should be made easier. It should be more accessible to younger Nantucketers by making the permitting an easier process. I think we also need to work to create more space in the harbor for aquaculture. We're more or less maxed out now for oysters. And we've had a person who's trying really hard to find space. We're kind of leaving that up to him, but that is just an example of here are more people wanting to get into oysters. Kelp could be a thing that could happen here. You might see people wanting to grow blue mussels, but if we're hoping that the scallop industry isn't headed toward being done, but we should be planning for the future for that, be ready for that. Something that we've talked about a lot since I've been on the committee, on the board, is establishing more working waterfront space for commercial fishermen. We are almost entirely a recreational pleasure yacht community. We have our little fishing fleet. We have people that maybe do striped bass fishing. We no longer have a dragger here. So the town pier and the public landings are basically it. It's something that we're never going to give up on. One of the big issues that we're working on now is establishing an emergency truck-to-boat fueling location somewhere on the waterfront so that if the boat basin fuel station is taken out by a storm or something happens, commercial vessels, fishing vessels will be able to fuel up. We also are working on the possibility of recreational scalping on Mondays and Tuesdays. As you know, Wednesday through Sunday is the week for fishing for recreational guys, but there are people who fish in the off season who feel aggrieved that they can't fish on Mondays and Tuesdays. So that's something we'll be taking up this summer. I strongly support the Nantucket Land and Water Council's eelgrass friendly mooring pilot project to test the concrete inverted pyramid dormer concrete moorings with floating tackle so that we don't tear up the eelgrass anymore. That's something that's going to happen this summer. I'm also an advocate for something that one of our members, Bobby DaCosta, has been pushing, which is a phone app for tracking harbor water temperature on a daily basis and for commercial and recreational scallopers to log their daily catch reports on. And I want to continue to push for getting commercial scallopers properly compensated for helping the Natural Resources Department move scallop seed from strandings and from vulnerable areas.
Thank you, Peter. I see that Kevin Korn just popped on. Are you there, Kevin? Can you turn on your mic and your camera? Oops. While we wait for Kevin to see if he can get through, we'll start with the questions. Jason, you have the first question. It'll go to Peter first.
Yeah, thanks, Scott, and thanks, Matt and Peter and Kevin for being here. One of the topics the SHAB has recently been talking about is Chapter 91, compliance with certain requirements as it relates to Great Harbor Yacht Club. I think Peter touched on it. You touched on it a little bit with regards to the fuel. And also, given the town's response to those concerns being raised, can you talk a little bit about what the next steps are in that conversation, what you'd like to see happen, and the role as an advisory board to the select board being able to raise those types of concerns and discussions in that venue and in the way that you guys did?
Yeah, we kind of, goofed a little bit by, sending a letter to the Great Harbor Yacht Club and saying we wanted information when what we should have done was gather as much information as possible. And then the next step would be to write a letter of recommendation to the select board saying here in this public document, their Chapter 91 license, we request that the select board prompt the Department of Environmental Protection in the state to enforce the Chapter 91 license. And what we want enforcement for is, as mentioned in the license, there is the requirement, I believe, to have a fueling station, not a fueling station, but the ability for a fuel truck to come down and come down onto the wharf and fill boats, as well as to haul boats, commercial fishing boats when they have an emergency. And I know we pushed this in the discussions, but we wanted, the public path to be more clearly marked, and it is marked. It says pedestrian path, but it doesn't necessarily say public. So it's kind of out of our area because we're advocating for public access around there. And we are the Harbor and Shellfish Advisory Board. So maybe it's a bit of a stretch, but no harm in giving it a shot and saying we recommend that the select board do this. We know from our experience, especially from Dave Franzula, the former harbor master sitting on our board, that Chapter 91 license enforcement is it's challenging for the DEP because they have not as much staff to focus on all of that. So, but we're not doing our duty as our board without following this through. So that's where we would go with this.
Thank you. Jason, I don't know, do you want to phrase the question to Matt Peel as well?
I'm happy to answer as is.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. That Chapter 91 is interesting. It's one of the oldest maritime laws in the state. I think the issue was more of a preemptive issue than a reactionary issue. I think there was some concern by fishermen that this could be an issue, and it's something like Peter said that the board started discussing, and maybe they kind of took some steps out of turn or out of place. But I think the response from the town in discussing the issue, I mean, I don't know. I disagree with telling an advisory board you can't advise or you can't talk about something or give information to the select board. I think if anybody's watched the meetings or discussed or seen this issue and seen what this board's discussed around this issue, I think there's a lot of, I think it is well within the board's purview to discuss this issue, because what happens if, there is a hurricane that comes in and we got to fuel all these boats. We got to get boats to safety. If we can't pull out, 200 or however many boats we have in the harbor at once. And so, we got to give people fuel and be able to get them, either to a safe place or wherever they can take to protect themselves from and shelter their boats from a hurricane or anything like that. And so, it's an issue, like I said, a preemptive issue. It's not an active issue, but I think that it's a continued conversation, and I think it kind of got blown out of proportion because that's exactly what it is right now. It's a conversation, and it needs to continue these conversations between the advisory board and the Great Harbor Yacht Club, and look at some sort of understanding. And if there's refusal on either end or there's some pushback, and then we can cross, the board can cross those roads when they get there. So
Thank you. Kevin, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, and I apologize. I'm on a plane right now, so the Wi-Fi is very sporadic, but I am here and I can hear you.
Would you like to just take a minute or two and just tell us about your candidacy, what's your opening statement?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, I just wondering if you could give us your opening statement, your CV and what you see as the big issues. I'm not sure that's going to work.
Can you hear okay?
No, we can't. You're cutting out very badly. I know it's not your fault.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm sorry about this. I was just curious if the bio that I shared by email was shared, or if I just want to double speak.
I have not shared it, but I can. It might be easier.
Okay. Yeah, no. That's if you guys could hear me, then I'm happy to speak. Otherwise, that's the information I share with you is just a little bit about my bio. Just
keep going. Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I mean, my 2-minute intro, it'll probably be less than 2 minutes, but I've lived on Nantucket for about 16 years now, year round. I have 2 boys that are born and raised on the island. My wife is born and raised on the island. Family are island. So, in terms of trying to understand the heritage of the island, I feel like I have to grasp on, as well as knowing that we have to consider the future, which is unknown for everyone. So I am not a person with strong opinions. I am very much a person who loves to listen and figure out what sort of pressing issues or topics are out there. In particular with SHAB, what is pressing to the commercial shell fishermen? What is pressing to the shellfish, the shell fisheries that Tara and her amazing team drive for our harbor, and then figuring out what's the best way to sustain the health of Nantucket harbors. So, my 2-minute statement, I just want to say that if I were to be fortunate enough to be elected to the board, it would be to go in and listen a lot. Listen to what Peter and Dave Fonsuto and Andy and all the other board members in the past have done to get up to speed on how SHAB has worked, how it can best function, and if there is a need to evolve and function in a better way. I don't come in hot with strong opinions on things. That's just not the way I work. So the reason why I would want to be a part of this, I've been serving as the executive director for Nantucket Shellfish Association for the past 2 years. We've grown what was a very heritage basically focused on water quality and the Nantucket shell fisheries, and really honed in onto how we can grow that as an organization. I know this particular role is entirely different. Will be done with NSA at the end of June. When I with Dave from
Kevin, we got you, and we lost you about 15 seconds ago, but we got the major gist of it. And we're nearing the end, so I'm going to ask Dean if he has a question for the panelists.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to follow up on that last conversation you guys were having about Great Harbor Yacht Club. In light of that, do you think the SHAB should have more authority, like in issues like that, or just in general?
Well, we'll start with Matt first.
Well, I mean, I think that would take a change to change it from an advisory board to a policy board. And I'm not quite sure what the process of that would be, but I think at a certain point, this board does have, that much, I guess, authority. Because I mean, if you look at the interactions with the select board and, especially in this last, when Andy went to the select board and asked for the increase in the scallop bushels, and they have so much trust in this board and so much trust in Tara and their oversight of the shellfish industry that they actually kind of, they allowed them to kind of make their own decisions by saying, okay, you want to set it at 7, you could raise it to 8 or so on. And so it's, I think there's trust in this board from the select board. So I think that where that letter came from, that was directed to SHAB was maybe more town administration than the select board. So, I think that we have it, or that board has it. I shouldn't say we, excuse me. I'd love to be on the board. But, I think that it's currently it is there. I think there is some trust there.
Thanks. Peter, Bryce?
Yeah, I don't see us ever being a regulatory board. Um, but I think that we can affect more change by issuing more advisories, which sometimes we fall down on. We tend to talk in circles and then don't do anything about it. So in that way, we could be more effective if we gave regular advisories to the select board, even if we didn't want action, we were just updating them. But I don't think. I mean, it's Matt's right to change us to a regulatory board. Um, there was some talk of us being an appointed board because the town council committee changing us over to the committee that's trying to turn the town into a town council form of government. Um, they were looking at boards that should become appointed boards and suggested us, and we all voted unanimously. We said we don't want that, and they heard us, and so I guess we're not going to be that. We're going to stay advisory. We want to be elected by the people, support the people. So I don't, yeah, I don't think us being regulatory is a good idea. I also want to maybe clarify what Matt was saying about um, us being able to decide whether we can increase the box limit or not. That was an authority that the select board granted to Tara Riley, so that if it came before us that yes, there's enough in the water out there that we can increase, or do we need to decrease, instead of us going through the process, going to the select board to get that done, the expediency of the situation where we need to do this right away made it easier for them to trust Tara to make that decision. So um, that gives us a little regulatory, but we don't make the regulations. We work on revising them with Tara. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Kevin, I don't know if you want to chime in on that. Can you hear us?
Yes, I could hear you. Do you mind just repeating the question? I have my headphones in now, so I can hear much clearer.
Oh, good. Dean, can you repeat the question, please? Sorry.
Yeah, in light of the recent kind of issues with Great Harbor Yacht Club, I was asking if you think SHAB should have more authority in those type of issues, more regulatory authority, or stay kind of as an advisory board.
I can offer my gut response to that, which would be I do not necessarily have a strong opinion that it should change its status. As I read about SHAB and the bylaws of it, is it's an advisory board to advise the select board members about the pressing needs with the harbor and shellfisheries. So I'm not well versed enough to know if that is something that I would look to the more senior veteran board members on if something like that was needed or should even be proposed. From the minimal experience I've had with SHAB and the significant experience I've had with Tara, I can say that I think what Tara and her team do is substantial. And I know there's a lot of SHAB members who believe that Tara's contributions for islands are so I don't have a change. I would say working with Tara, like Peter mentioned, and putting together an advisor to be the best.
Thank you, Kevin. You're starting to break up again. Do you want to try and give your closing statement right now while we have a connection? Or not? Okay, well, Matt, why don't you go first with your closing statement?
Yeah. So I just want to I'd like to say something that you hear Dave Fonzuno say all the time, and it's our harbors, our waterways, and our shellfish industry are Nantucket's biggest assets. I think as an island, sometimes we get caught up in this mid-island and zoning and everything else, and the harbor, the waterways, and the shellfish industry kind of become an afterthought. But in my opinion, that couldn't be further from the truth. I think this is our biggest asset. you know, I challenge anybody to go get a ice cream cone at sunset and walk down and look at the boats in the middle of the summertime. It's one of the greatest experiences that Nantucket has to offer. And I want to do my part in preserving that and preserving the water quality and preserving the shellfish quality, and helping, you know, this industry and helping that area move into the future. You know, I live here year round, and my family has always been very involved here in town government and politics and things like that. And I hope, you know, I want to keep that tradition going. And I look forward to the future on this island. I think we have nothing but great things to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Peter?
Yeah, I don't really have a closing statement, but I want to say that I think that the key to being on this board is longevity. You can serve 3 years, and unless you come in with really big ideas, it takes a while to get caught up on all the issues and get the confidence to speak at the meetings and get to know how government works if you've never served on a committee. And I didn't think I'd be on this long. I mean, what is it? It's 15 years, 14 years. And having served as chairman and then now as secretary, the longer you stay on, the more you know, and the more you can be effective. But you have to want to do that and put in the time. And it's benefited me for, you know, having covered this board for newspapers, having written books about the environment, and I just want to keep serving. It's my pleasure to do it. So
thank you very much.
Thank you
Kevin,
for having us.
Yeah, I'm going to try Kevin one more time. Kevin, can you hear us? Hello? Yeah, you're really kind of broken up now.
Sorry about that. I apologize.
Okay. Well, we're gonna move on. Thanks, Kevin.
If you
and so with that, we've reached the end of our forum. The Civic League would like to thank the candidates for their insights on the issues and the frank discussion of their positions. We also thank them for their dedication to the Nantucket community. We would also like to thank Nantucket Community Television and their wonderfully dedicated staff, especially John Carl McGrady, for their invaluable support of this forum. From the Civic League, I would like to personally thank co-president Charlie Scott, Mary Warrow, Maureen Phillips, and Rick Atherton, whose hard work and insights made this forum possible. And a special shout out to Peter Morrison, who has been so important to this organization of our forums over the years. We'd like to thank Dean and oh shoot. We'd like to thank the members of the media who were here today with the questions. We really appreciate their participation as well. And finally, we'd like to thank you, the voters, for your participation today. Please remember that you are all entitled to your opinions, but your opinions don't matter if you don't vote. So please express your opinions in the best possible way by voting on May 19. Thank you all again. A reminder, this forum was recorded and will be available for replay on YouTube very shortly. This concludes our forum. Would all the participants please now mute their mics and turn off their cameras, as we will be live for another minute while NCTV puts a wrap on the production. Thank you.